significantly reduce plastic pollution in the environment through creation of awareness about the harms of plastic pollution and to educate people at large about the safe disposal of plastic waste. This webinar is an effort in that direction. The members of the CAP come from a wide spectrum of fields. My name is Anup Kumar Srivastava. I am founder director of the CAP. I am moderator for this event. Nidhi Srivastava, another member of CAP, is co-moderator. I have just a few announcements to make. Please listen to these carefully. You will be in muted mode during the webinar. When you have any question to ask, that is between 5:15 p.m. and 5:30 p.m., please put the question in question and answer box and we will unmute you. Your video will not be visible throughout the webinar, but will be visible when you are asked to speak by us. So don't panic if you don't see your video on the screen. Your questions can be upvoted by the audience. We will select a few audience members to ask their question live to the panelists. For this, please make sure that your name is entered correctly and that your camera and mic are working. Shri Vinod, there are few more announcements. Shri Vinod Babu of Central Pollution Control Board, who was supposed to be a panelist, is indisposed and unable to attend. Hence, he has been substituted by Miss Yuthika Puri as a panelist. Miss Dia Mirza would join us at 5:30 p.m. for an interactive session for 20 minutes. You can put your question to her in question and answer box at that time. We are very fortunate that we have Mr. Eric Solheim amidst us, who is a well-known environmentalist and an authority on plastic pollution mitigation. He is joining us from Oslo, Norway. We are also joined by Ms. Yuthika Puri, Senior Environmental Engineer in the Central Pollution Control Board, who is an expert in the field. We will now commence the webinar. I now request Mr. Ranjan Chatterjee, a senior member of the CAP, to deliver his welcome address. Mr. Ranjan Chatterjee, over to you.
Foundation for campaign against plastic pollution, I welcome you to this webinar on the topical subject, impact of COVID-19 on plastic pollution. The real challenge is to fight the twin whammies, COVID-19 and plastic pollution, both at the same time. The aim is to churn out some practical solutions to this imbroglio. Today, I have the honor to welcome Mr. Eric Solheim, who is a well-known global leader on environment and development. He has been the Norwegian Minister for Environment. He has been also on the chair of OECD Development Assistance Committee. He has also been the executive director of the United Nations Environment. Currently, he is a senior advisor to the World Resource Center of the Plastic Revolution Foundation and an advisor to a Singapore-based green blockchain company. We are indeed delighted to have you, sir. Next, I welcome Ms. Dia Mirza, who will be joining us during the course of the meeting. As you are aware, she's a well-known actor, producer, the United Nations Secretary General's advocate for Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Environment Programme Goodwill Ambassador, and the Wildlife Trust of India's ambassador, among her other accomplishments. As you can figure out, these people have been extremely busy, but we are so delighted they have been able to spare their time to join us in the webinar. I also have the privilege to welcome Ms. Yothika Puri, who is a senior environment engineer in the CPCB Center for Pollution Control Board, Delhi. She is from the Delhi College of Engineering, an alumnus from there. During a 13 years span of work, she has worked tirelessly on biomedical waste, particularly waste emanated during the pandemic. That must be the real challenge. Friends, I'm sure you would enjoy proceedings of this webinar and listen to these distinguished people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I will now request Mr. Solem to kindly share his thoughts with us. Over to you, Mr. Eric Solem.
Thank you so much, Anoop. Thank you, Ranjan. It's a privilege to be with you, as well as with Yothika Puri and a number of other people who are dedicated to fighting the plastic menace. Let's starting by recalling that plastic was seen as a miracle product. When it came, I think maybe in the America in the 1950s, we saw it as a miracle. It could solve so many problems, and we started to use it. And we started to use it so much, and it ended up by an absolute overuse and a major problem to the world, an environment problem, an economic problem, and a social problem. A few months back, a whale died in Thailand. The whale was vomiting plastic bags while dying. The entire digestive system of the whale was overwhelmed with plastic. It couldn't simply stand so much plastic. Exactly the same happens to seabirds. For instance, in my country, Norway, we have many of them. Seabirds will dive very fast down. They will pick up some plastic, believing it's jellyfish or fish. They will even feed the chicks with the plastics, believing they are doing good for the children or for the chicks, and they are killing their own chicks by plastic. These are whales and seabirds are just two examples. This happened to cows, to camels, to any number of sea animals all over the planet. So plastic is a major environment and animal kingdom problem. If we want to protect our beautiful nature, for instance, the fantastic nature of India, we need to fight plastic pollution. Added, it's also a social problem because in many cases, the poor people are those suffering most from plastic pollution. In many countries, you will have decent pickup systems in the more affordable neighborhoods, while there will be hardly anything in slums. I'm working quite a lot in Ghana, in Africa, and in the capital Ghana, in Accra. We have had people dying in the poor neighborhoods simply because plastic has cloaked the sewage system, and some parts of the slums have been overwhelmed with water. If people cannot swim, they may die from these cloaking of the sewages. And adding to all this is a major economic problem. remind yourself that the fastest growing business in the world prior to COVID-19, but I'm sure it will pick up after COVID-19, that's tourism. Creates any number of jobs all over the planet. And there is a huge shifting pattern also. The biggest tourist nation in the world will very soon be China. India is also on the way to be a big tourist nation. And in the future, both China and India for sure will surpass the United States of America as the biggest tourist nations in the world. But of course, tourists don't want to go to places which are overwhelmed by plastics. So for instance, in Indonesia, which has so many tourists coming, they have defined plastic scores as a major economic threat to Indonesia, because no one would want to go swimming, say, at Bali if it's overwhelmed by plastic. So the case, I think, is clear to everyone. It's a major economic, social, and environment problem, and we need to fix it. So we should spend maybe more time on how to fix it. And COVID-19, of course, is illustrating the main problem in different ways. First of all, we have got a lot more plastic due to COVID-19, because so many of the health products we are using during the crisis, like masks and many other health products, are including plastics and will not degenerate if they're left at beaches or in nature. But it also illustrates, of course, why plastic is such a useful material, because there are no easy replacements in the health sector for plastic. If it had been, we would have used it already. So there are no easily available, affordable alternatives to plastic. So on one hand, it's overwhelming us. On the other hand, it's useful. So the issue is how to fix this. I think there are three main ways, practical ways we need to fix it, and there are three ways on how to mobilize. Let me start with the practical ones. We need to fix it by, first of all, avoiding all the plastics which are not serving a useful place in society. There are many plastic products we simply can avoid. For sure, we can drink straight from the cup. My mother and grandmother always did. We don't need a straw to drink from the cup. We don't need plastic cutlery. We can use cutlery from any other product. Frankly, while we want to celebrate both religious and other festivals, we can do it without balloons. There are so many other ways of celebrating big events or Hindu or Christian festivals for that matter. So let's get rid of all the plastic materials we don't want. And that's also happening now. In the European Union, they have set out a plastic strategy, and they will prohibit a huge number of plastic products in Europe in the years to come, so they will simply disappear from the market. That's also happening in some Indian states. I remember I was trying to buy some plastic cutlery in Mumbai, in the state of Maharashtra, just to show people that we don't need this product. And the guy in the shop said, no, if you want to buy plastic cutlery, you have to go to another state. You simply don't have plastic cutlery here in Maharashtra, so please go somewhere else if you want that product. So we can avoid and refuse. That's number one. Second, we can reuse. We can find products which can disappear naturally, degenerate in nature. Many plastic products, like plastic bags, can be made from potatoes or sugarcane or cassava or other products. And of course, if you drop that in nature, it will simply disintegrate like a banana skin or an apple. If you throw that in nature, in short time, it will simply be part of the soil. So that's the second. Number one is refuse. Second is reuse, and third is recycle. All those plastic products we do need, or where we do not have easy replacements, need to be brought in and recycled. They can be recycled in different ways. At the very minimum, they should be recycled as energy. Better still, they can be recycled as fuel. I'm working in Ghana, as I said, in Africa, where we want to set up a factory which will bring in all the plastics from Accra, turn it into fuel, which can be put into the automobiles and then be recycled. And even better than that is, of course, when it can be recycled into a new plastic product, so you get a circular economy. But any way of recycling is much better than leaving the plastic at landfills, not to speak of in nature. So finally, how do we come there? How can we change? What's the theory of change? I think we have a very strong theory of change because it has worked before. We have solved many environment and other problems in society in the past. On environment, for instance, we have solved the problem of the ozone layer. That was the biggest environment problem when I started in politics. We were mobilizing very strongly, and people said we need to solve these problems. Then political leaders came together in Montreal in Canada and made the Montreal Protocol, and then business found all the practical solutions. And now we see the ozone layer coming back, and by 2050, experts say it will be back in the same shape as it was before we started destroying it. So the theory of change, I think, is very clear. You need a public opinion, people speaking up. That's why these conferences are so important, and why also we congratulate you on with this initiative. You need advocates. Secondly, you need political leaders, and thirdly, you need the forces of the market. India has a huge opportunity to play a lead role in this issue globally for a number of factors. You have some of the strongest civil society groups fighting the plastic scores. My good friend Afroz Shah, who some of you know, is based in Mumbai. He started the biggest beach cleanup anywhere in human history. The beginning was just himself and a neighbor, two people. They went down to the beach and started picking plastic. They didn't call the chief minister of Maharashtra or write a newspaper article. They simply started picking plastics. Then there were 10, then there were hundreds, then there were thousands. At the end, there were hundreds of thousands of people picking plastic at the beaches of Mumbai. And of course, these people do understand that you cannot just continue to pick plastic. You also need to solve the problem by reducing the amount of plastic. So Afroz Shah is one example, but I know of people all over India, basically in every state of India, who want to fight this plastic problem and are speaking up against it and telling the political leaders, whether they're BJP or Congress or whatever party, in Kerala, maybe the Communist Party, but whatever party, tell them, you please start solving this problem. So this strong civil society component and groups like the Campaign Against Plastic Pollution put India at the center of the global effort. Secondly, at the political leadership level, Prime Minister Modi has been very, very firm that this issue needs to be solved. He has spoken up on a number of occasions in different ways. And when he speaks up, you also see immediately that chief ministers of the different states, they also speak up and say we need to solve this problem. True, I mean, not all problems are fixed, not all laws are in place. There are a lot which need to be done. But in my view, there is absolutely zero doubt that the political will is there at the absolute top level of Indian society. And that's why also India can play a key role here. India has a huge role to play on solar energy and other environment issues, but on plastic, India can lead, and Europe will lead. And certainly with Joe Biden as the president of the United States, you will see a sea change on the environment in the United States in a much more positive direction. And also in China, you see now more and more issues on plastic coming up and the political leadership taking action. So India can lead from below and it can lead from above. And finally, you need business, because at the end you need better waste management systems, you need better products, you need plastics which can be recycled. And of course, India has a good number of huge companies with the ability to play a key role in these areas. Some of them are already playing a role, but of course, when the political leaders frame the market, business all over the world has shown the enormous power of the brains of the people in business, the innovative power, and you will find the practical solutions, the better materials, the recycling methods, all that will come. So just finally, plastic is now a huge problem for societies all over the planet. The problem has been exacerbated by COVID-19, but COVID-19 has also shown us one very important lesson, and that is when political leaders lead, people follow. And there are huge differences now globally between the most successful nations fighting COVID-19 and the least successful. The East Asian nations are much more successful than anyone else. Number of dead per capita in Vietnam is less than 1 per million. In the United States of America, there are more than 700 per million. Who would have thought that Vietnam could fight COVID-19 better than the United States of America? China, there is 3. South Korea is 5. In Japan, it may be about 15 or something like that. So all East Asian nations have been very effective. India is a more complicated, difficult society because of the nature of Indian society. But there's also been in India a strong leadership from Prime Minister Modi on the very top to solve the problem. And while it's a major problem in India, per capita is much, much less than both in Europe and in North America. But my point is, when leaders lead, when they tell people what they need to do and tell them to follow and find the solutions, people are ready to follow when it comes to major issues. So I'm very optimistic that this huge problem for the world will be solved in the years to come. And I believe that India has an absolutely central role to play in that fight. So let's join hands together. And in 10 years' time, we will have a much better situation when it comes to plastics all over the world, but in particularly India. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is very an illuminating talk by you, Mr. Erik Solheim. Thank you very much. Yes, definitely, as you said, the political will is very much required to combat this problem. And this problem has been exacerbated by the recent pandemic. Hope the pandemic will abate in a short while, but the problem of plastic pollution is going to stay for quite some more time. But as you said, that hopefully in 10 years' time, the world will be a better place as far as the plastic pollution is concerned, and we will have a much better situation to see. We will have the questions from the audience. We will take them later. We can have first a talk by Ms. Yuthika Puri, Senior Environmental Engineer of the Central Pollution Control Board, who has been dealing with this issue more so in recent times because of the COVID situation. She has been dealing with it. So let us have her thoughts. So over to you, Ms. Yuthika Puri.
Thank you, Anup sir. Thank you. First of all, very good evening to everyone. Again, thank you to Anup Srivastava sir for having CPCB on the board. And I must congratulate Mr. Erik to give us a very nice, crisp and brief scenario. Very well said here. Long back, we identified a very good, nice product, plastic, which we started liking it, started using it, and now the same product has become a problem for all of us if it is not managed in the way it should be. So thank you, sir. Thank you once again for having me to be involved in such event, to have a talk on a very critical and problematic area, which is plastic pollution. So, and we are already in COVID-19 pandemic. This area, this plastic waste has become more problematic because of the, of course, reason it has become increase in numbers, increase in quantum, and even not for the workers who are involved in the handling of plastic waste, it has become problematic for the healthcare sector, for I must say the general public also, and the local governments. So plastic waste, we all know what is plastic waste, and for our country, even we have a legal framework which talks about the how it has to be segregated, how it has to be collected, how it has to be processed or recycled, because plastic is a very versatile material, and it we can it's an excellent material, so that we can easily reuse or recycle, and for n number of years we can use the same product which was manufactured in at one time. So and for India, it is it is very important, and it is very critical, which gives us a good Indian foreign trade also. So it is important for the country. But on the other side, if it is important for the country economically, but it is important for the environment also, if it is not managed, or if it is not controlled in a proper way, it will become a problematic area for the environment. So as I was saying, we have already have the legal framework, as in we have the plastic waste management rules, which was notified by the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change in the year 2016, where other stream of waste were also notified by the Government of India, which talks about the proper management and proper disposal and proper treatment of the waste. So plastic is also one of the waste management streams. And this plastic waste management rules gives us the thrust on the area, which talks about how to minimize the generation of plastic waste, how to segregate it at the source itself, and if we have the waste, so how to dispose it off, how we can go for recycling, of course through the registered or authorized recyclers. So this is the legal framework for our country, for India. And before going further to talk what's the scenario in COVID-19 of this plastic waste, let me share a brief national scenario. Like if I talk, because CPCB, every year we collect the data, we make the compilation, we make the assessment for other waste streams also. So for plastic waste also, as per the information we get from every state pollution control boards or other state governments, for the year 18-19, the turnover for this plastic industry was about 5.1 lakh crores. And out of it, we had near about 50 million tons per year of plastic. And out of which the waste generation is about, as I remember the figure, 33.6 lakhs ton per annum. So this is the plastic, and this is the plastic waste we had in the year 18-19, if I talk about the data. Other than that, from where it is generated, so let me share very decent figures we have. Number of registered units or industries which are involved in the manufacturing of this plastic were 4,773, out of which plastic industries are 4,294. Compostable manufacturing units are also there, which are 7 in numbers. We have industries for multi-layer plastics, and they are near about 280 or 290, if I'm not wrong. These are the manufacturing units. And other than that, we also have the recyclers, which are authorized by the state governments. So we have 185 recycling units which are involved in recycling of this plastic waste. But the bad news is we have unregistered units also, which are involved in manufacturing, which are involved in indirect manufacturing or recycling. Those are near about 1,000 or 1,100 in numbers. So this is the figures involved in the generation of plastic, involved in the generation of plastic waste. So we know this product is with us, and we have to deal with it, because the issue in the management of this plastic waste are very common. Every individual, every layman knows about it, I can say, because we are in 2020, and this has become a social issue for everybody. Even in the schools also now, students are being taught about this subject, how to reduce the usage of plastic, and how we can do good things for the environment with the decrease of this usage of plastic products. So issues are very common. Like first and very prominent issue is its generation, because of the urbanization, because of this living style, today's living style, because of the industrialization. So generation is more. Other than that, if generation is there, second issue is segregation, because this uh, and segregation, before segregation, I would like to mention the term single use plastics, which we have and which is made up of very low quality plastics, and which in our daily life is associated with the solid waste, which is generated by our households, every other commercial areas. And it is very tough to segregate those low value plastic items from the other solid waste, because it has got not much value of it, but it becomes a problematic for the whole nation, because it's end up to the heaping of landfills, it end up to the choking of drains, like that. So these are the issues. Other issue, if for especially if I stress for my country, littering is one of the prominent issue in which devotes more and making this problem, this issue more problematic, because with littering is something which uh, even we have to educate each and every citizen of the country where to dispose it of. If you are using the water bottle, also where to dispose it of. Now state governments are putting their so much of efforts in that, in educating general public by creating posters, or small radio jingles, or small webinars for the are being conducted for the state government officials also, so that they can educate further. At the village level also, village panchayats are being involved in this, but still this problem is there. This because of this littering only, we have a very critical situation with us. But on the other side, I cannot say everywhere it is very bad in situation, because we have some good examples of few states which are doing very good. In Maharashtra also, if the let me share a very small example. For a society, it is impossible to give their garbage to the waste collector if it is not segregated, the dry waste and this wet waste. So this kind of exercises are being done at very small level, which really contributes in the good work for it, for in this field, plastic waste management also. If it's in solid waste management, it's related to the plastic waste management also, because in solid waste, a part of solid waste is plastic only. So these are the common issues, and Mr. Eric has already explained it very nicely, that what was the scenario when we identified this product, what we have currently, and what is required for its betterment, what is the requirement globally. So I will not speak on those points now. We all know much about plastic and plastic waste management, how it has to be and how it is not being implemented at ground. And the more problematic issue is that we are in COVID-19 pandemic, and this plastic waste has increased very drastically, especially from the healthcare sectors. It is being increased because in healthcare sectors, single-use plastic in the form of disposable PPs is generated more and more. Let me share, because I've been involved in this medical waste management stream also. And in the early days of this COVID pandemic, when WHO announced, everybody was in panic, and nobody, even in the hospitals also, even the doctors also were very confused with respect of the management of the waste generated from the isolation wards for COVID, waste generated from the quarantine centers, because these waste were nothing but the major part of it is disposable PPEs, for example, mask, head covers, shoe covers, gloves. And other than that, it was solid waste. It was disposable items, disposable plates, disposable spoons, because in the isolation centers, when food is being served to a COVID-19 positive patients, they used to give in the disposable items, so that they will just finish their food and they will dispose that used plate uh, uh, in the dustbin, or in the bin or container or bag which is meant for biomedical waste, which is not at all required. And then how we had a huge spike in the biomedical waste generation also. And I know, because I was the assessor of the data and I assessed the data for the entire country. The 80% of the waste was the solid waste, which majorly comprised of the plastic waste only. So this is how we had a huge amount of plastic waste. And the common treatment facility operators, which are meant for the treatment and disposal of medical waste, they had to receive this plastic waste along with the other medical waste also, because they cannot say deny for the collection of waste from their member healthcare facilities. So they had to collect and they had to burn it. In initial days, they were just simply burning each and every bag into the incinerator. Then CPCB, realizing the gravity of the situation, we have prepared separate guidelines which talks about the management of COVID-19 biomedical waste. But it also covers the other aspects. It covers the solid waste management also, slight part, and which obviously includes the plastic waste management also. So we prepared in the this guidelines in March to 2020, and we had 4 revision. The last revision was published in July 2020. I made a small group of experts. With the help of them, we could really able to prepare these guidelines. And let me share this with everybody, that India is among the few countries who, we have the separate guidelines for the which talks about the COVID waste management. So in these guidelines, biomedical waste or medical waste, how it has to be managed, it has to be segregated, this is there in line. But if we are talking on plastic waste management today, so if we know that we have increase in overall waste management, but then we because, and of course, because of this disposable PPs, for example, mask and gloves and head covers and shoe covers. So even general public who are not positive with this COVID, they were also wearing, everybody is mandatory to wear mask when they are going out of their houses. So other than mask, they are wearing, some people are wearing gloves. So at the commercial areas, where they will dispose it of, how they will dispose it of, because some people were considering it as a medical waste. But no, we have clarified through our guidelines that this is not the medical waste. And for example, if it is from the offices, now lockdown is over, every office is open, employees are going to their respective offices wearing the mask. So if they are wearing disposable masks, so where they will dispose it off. And through the guidelines, we have clarified it is not the biomedical waste. You just keep those used masks separately for at least minimum 72 hours, so that if there is any risk of virus on the surface of that mask, it will eliminate within that time span. And after that, you can dispose it off along with the general solid waste. Just it is advisable that you may cut that mask or segregate that mask, and you just simply dispose it off. If it is happening in a proper way, it is very good. And the workers involved in the collection of those waste, solid waste, along with this plastic waste also, they will be able to segregate, because they will be they will be sure that this is not biomedical waste, and they can process it further. They can send this segregated waste to the respective recyclers, and we can minimize the risk of the generation of plastic waste, number one, and we can minimize the risk of spread of this COVID disease through the surfaces or through the handling of such kind of waste. So the point, we know that this is what happening and this should be done, but the point of discussion is implementation at ground level, because I am working in the organization where we get the information from
Yuthika ji,
yes sir.
can you
Yes, sir.
conclude
Yeah, yes,
quickly?
sir. Yes, sir. So we have a few examples or incidences which are related to the like dumping of this, open dumping of this disposable PPs. So that is why, and with the help of our guidelines, we made it more clarified that this should not happen, and this is how it has to be done. Dumping was happening because of the scare which was in the workers, that we will not touch this waste, but now it has, this problem has got down, and we have less number of incidences with respect to this open dumping and burning of such kind of waste. So this is how CPCB was played their role, and that's it, sir. If any query or any question, we may discuss it and we may take it later on. So thank you so much, and this is what I had to share with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yuthika ji. You have given very illuminating talk. You have also clarified as to how the fight is going on against COVID as well as the pollution at the same time. This is the crux of the situation, and this is how
Yeah.
it should be. Thank you very much. Now there will be just a few quick interventions by a few members of the CAB, and I call upon first Mr. Sanjeev Sadhi. Mr. Sanjeev Sadhi, can you please make your intervention? Over to Mr. Sanjeev Sadhi.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Uh,
we can hear you.
Sir, in this COVID period, we realized because of a lot of e-commerce activity, there was a lot of repacking being done. So while we were hearing from these really, I would say, knowledgeable people that yes, there is no way but to reduce, reuse, and recycle this. But the problem is how to make it on a sustainable basis. Sustainable basis comes when there is, some profit, some business sense into it. It can't run on subsidy always. So I would say a lot of thinking has to go. Reduce, yes, we can, but on reuse and recycle, like we have in carbon neutral as far as electricity and other thing is concerned, we need to have some neutral industries which should pledge that yes, if we are using this plastic, we will ensure that we collect the same amount also. So some such novice ideas, some such things have to come up. It requires a lot of brainstorming. We have a subsidiary of Volkswagen which says we can generate electricity out of this waste. So those companies have to be encouraged, brought to countries where we can give them the right amount of raw material. So I would say it requires a very serious this thing at industry level also, sir.
Much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjeev. I will now call upon Advocate Naushad Ahmed to make his point. Advocate Naushad Ahmed, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. In fact, I would like to congratulate Mr. Anup Kumar Srivastava, founder and for campaign Foundation for Campaign Against Plastic Pollution, and the panelist. My specific pointed query, insofar as our government is concerned, and this is having far-reaching consequences pertaining to the legislation. I'm just pointing out Rule 393 of the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016. My specific question and I would say not only question, a suggestion, a proposition to the government to reconsider it. That is, I'm just reading it out. As per the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, non-recyclable multi-layered plastic was supposed to be phased out in 2 years. But the 2018 amendment changed that to multi-layered plastic, which is non-recyclable, adding further, or non-energy recoverable, or with no alternative use. This provided an escape route to the plastic producers, and they could merrily go on producing multi-layered plastic, saying that there was always alternate use available. This rule needs to be reviewed and the original position required to be restored. So I would humbly request the government to reconsider this aspect, because this has opened a window and an open channel to all the plastic manufacturers, that there are always alternate use available, that is always non-energy recoverable available. So this way, the timeline which has been given for 2 years, that is not going to help at all. So this need to be reviewed and reconsidered and revisited. Thank you very much. Over to Mr. Anup Kumar Srivastava.
Thank you, Naushad Bhai. Here, the only representative of the government of India is Ms. Yuthika Puri. I will request you to make a note and convey the request of this forum to the appropriate authorities so that they dwell on this issue and find out some solution. I also support what Mr. Naushad has said, that the original position that prevailed in 2016 rules, that should be restored. And otherwise, this is unending, and it will just keep on going for endlessly, and there will never be any stoppage to the production and use of multi-layer plastic packaging, which is so difficult to handle.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I will call upon, in case Mr. Sanjay Srivastava is there, he may make his intervention. Otherwise, we will move on to questions from the audience. Is Colonel Sanjay Srivastava there? If you are there, please speak up. Okay. Okay. Okay, Ranjan sir, you want to ask something? Please ask. Unmute कर दो.
Some practical solutions, and Madam Yuthika has been able to suggest, and you have also been planning about it. But during my experience of 5 years with the National Green Tribunal, when I was a member, we started certain ventures or certain campaigns against plastic pollution. And we, particularly in Mundka and other places where people used to hire places and store them up with waste plastic, and then they would burn them, and the local residents were so upset. But the lobby has been very strong. The interesting thing that I found was that the best of advocates would be hired by these people, who the plastic pollutants, and then they would fight the case, whereas the ordinary residents used to come and represent their cases by themselves. So the NGT, had to become extremely proactive and take up their cases virtually suo moto. So a lot of efforts have been made, but the Delhi government also has been very slow. They make tall announcements that we are against plastic pollution and so on and so forth. But in real terms, the effort is not matching their statement. So, I mean, through this forum, I think I would like to appeal to all the advocates, Naushad and all these distinguished members of his tribe, that, there should be some ethics in the whole thing. We should not take up cases where our own existence is at stake. That is one. And secondly, Madam Yuthika should also take it up in a much more vigorous manner. Everybody wants it, but nobody seems to have the willpower to do it. So that willpower in the government has to be created to stop this kind of pollution. I will tell you a small instance. For several months, I was overseas. Then somebody sent me, after the COVID started, that in Calcutta airport, when the Vande Bharat flight started, they were given these PPE kits to the passengers in the middle seats. And all these fellows, all the passengers, after international flights, just threw them across on the airport and went away. I was wondering whether they are air travelers or whether they are residents of a slum or a ghetto and things like that. Then I wrote to the Calcutta airport authorities, and then they promptly took some action. Now, I think there is a very large question of public awareness of how you should dispose it of. Government cannot alone do it, but government has to be extremely proactive and put it on the front foot. Thank you.
Now we have only about 9 minutes left for question. So there are a number of questions to Mr. Eric Solheim. One is by Mr. Pushp Dant. May I call upon Mr. Pushp Dant to put his question live, and then I will request Mr. Eric Solheim to kindly answer it. Mr. Pushp Dant.
Sorry, I think there was a delay due to start of the Zoom system. Mr. Solheim, it was indeed an honor to listen to you, and also you, Ms. Yuthika Puri. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Pushp Dant. I have been a part of leadership of one of the India's largest civil society organization, the Art of Living Foundation. And I've been with the CAP for since its inception. So there's one question I've always wondered, and because of your international experience, perhaps you could throw some light on it. I have seen that most advanced countries, they have a very well-established sector where plastic is converted into electricity, and there are both private players and public players involved. But I've seen in India, this has not taken off. So would you please share some views on what do you think we need to do to promote this sector? Because this can really help in promoting circularity in the economy for plastic waste.
I'm happy to answer this question, but if there are more questions, I can also wait and pick them up, but maybe I should start answering this. You're absolutely right. Let me first of all also say thank you for all the great work done by Art of Living Foundation. You are doing great work for India and the world, promoting peace and the environment and so many other good causes. And by the way, on the advisory board for the university you're running in the state of Odisha, so I'm also somewhat linked to your movement, but thank you for all you're doing. I think the main answer to your question is the proposition of extended producer responsibility. Because reality, of course, is that in the most advanced and rich countries, this is paid, the waste management system are in reality paid either by taxes or by specific fees for the consumers. So when a company is handling plastic, they will get, in all reality, a subsidy from the state. That may be difficult in nations with more constrained public resources. And then the main answer, in my view, is extended producer responsibility. That's exact replica of the polluter pay principle, which we use in any other sector. If you are an aluminium producer or a steel producer or a cement producer, you are responsible for cleaning up the emissions or the pollutions created by your plant. Exactly the same we need to do here. Those companies who bring the plastic to the market, they may be plastic producers like Reliance in India or in globally like Dow Chemicals or LyondellBasell, but they may also be the consumer companies like in the Indian context, say in Unilever India, or the many other companies who are relating to the customers. Those who bring the milk to the market in plastic bags, for instance. So if those companies who bring the plastic to the market are made responsible for solving the problem they are creating, we will find the solutions. They will come together, they will work with the government, and we will see waste management in large scale. But you cannot expect the individual customer of not particularly, of course, not poor people in poor parts of India to pay for this. The companies need to pay. True, maybe the plastic then will be a little bit more expensive, but that everyone can afford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric, for the answer that you have given. And Mr. Amitabh, another member of the CAB, has a question for Ms. Yutika Puri. May I request Mr. Amitabh to put his question, and thereafter Ms. Yutika Puri to kindly reply.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I ask Yutika my question, I would like to congratulate Eric for giving us a global perspective on plastic pollution and great contribution that he has made in this area. My question to Yutika is regarding, you stated that CPCB has come out with guidelines, and these guidelines have also undergone some changes, 4 changes since March 2020. And all these guidelines are specifically made for biomedical waste related to COVID-19. I wanted to know, knowing that we have very poor record of implementation of policies and the rules that we make, how is the government ensuring effective implementation of these guidelines? Thank you.
Thank you, Amitabhji. Very simple but a good question, because through the answer of this, everybody will get to know what government or everybody else is doing on grounds. So we have prepared these guidelines, which talks about majorly about the biomedical waste management, COVID biomedical waste management generated from the healthcare facilities or quarantine centers or home quarantines, and also the solid waste generated at the commercial places, which includes disposable PPs. So see, these guidelines are prepared by CPCB, and for the implementation part, we have every state pollution control boards and other state governments, which they are directly responsible, and as per the rules also they have a mandate to ensure the implementation of the policies, of the rules, of the guidelines, of the technical guidelines. Other than that, CPCB is keep on reviewing the subject, whether it is biomedical waste or any other, or plastic waste or solid waste. on a month basis, we keep on reviewing the matter with the every state pollution control board. And if I talk about the monitoring of the cycle of waste, of biomedical waste, because we are in COVID, CPCB has developed a separate application mobile app, as well as the part of this app is mobile app and web portal application. With the help of this, we got to know how much COVID-19 biomedical waste is being generated by the every kind of waste generator, whether it is a hospital, whether it is a testing center, whether it is a lab, or whether it is a quarantine center, or whether it is a home care or home quarantine. So every COVID-19 waste generator is required to report their daily data on this mobile app, and CPCB along with the State Pollution Control Board is monitoring the data, and we got to know how much waste generation is there, and this waste should reach to its defined destination, to the treatment facility operators for the final treatment and disposal. So in this whole exercise, the treatment facility operators are also involved. They also have to, while they are going for the waste collection at individual hospital or their centers, they will feed the data, and that data will reach to the server of CPCB and the respective State Pollution Control Board. And we have the separate team working on this area, monitoring each and every exercise, whether one hospital or whether the waste is generated at one point, whether it is reaching to its defined destination or not. This is a separate app, and with respect to the implementation of other part, we have been involved, every State Pollution Control Board, and we have been asking them to make their state aware about this topic, about this subject. And many states have involved in preparation of separate campaign or posters or radio jingles or training programs, conducting training programs for the workers, for the healthcare staff also, how to take care of this COVID-19 waste. And CPCB has also created a separate page on their website, which gives every update with respect to the COVID waste management, So it is a very simple, the waste is generated by one, and it has to be disposed of in a scientific manner through the treatment facilities. So the role of the authority here is to ensure that the waste is reaching to its defined destination without any pilferage and in an environmentally sound manner. That state boards are monitoring their things. In fact, CPCB has asked every State Pollution Control Board to drive us for a special drive to monitor such exercise, and to have a check whether there is any pilferage, or whether there is any example or incidents of open dumping or burning or any kind of illegal disposal of such like hazardous or infectious waste in the public areas. So this kind of exercises we are doing, and of course, as you said, that government, Anup sir also mentioned this point, that government alone cannot perform or ensure the implementation part or the disposal of such infectious or harmful waste. Every individual, every person should also, it should be a social responsibility for everyone to to perform their duties for the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have overshot. Thank you very much. We have overshot the question answer session. Now we will be having interaction with Ms. Dia Mirza. Let us check whether she is there. We'll find out if she's there. Oh, welcome, most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Dia ji, good afternoon. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for joining us.
Since 4:30.
How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you so much. I've been listening in since 4:30, and I have to say that this has been deeply inspiring and revealing conversation. I think, of course, I know Eric very well, and I'm so proud and humbled and grateful that he could be a part of this conversation and include me in it as well. So thank you, Eric, for introducing me to Anoopji. And it was very, very enlightening to listen to Yutika ji, because I was not privy to this aspect of the topic, and I'm very grateful to have received so many important insights from you, Yutika ji. So thank you so much. And I thought all of the questions were very interesting. Ranjan ji, thank you so much for the warm introduction. I also agree with the point that you made about how we need to become responsible even about the single-use waste that is being generated at airports and other large areas, or where the intensity and the frequency of the use of single-use plastics is high. Identifying those locations and deploying and ensuring there are systems to manage that plastic waste. But Anoopji, I'll allow you to ask me questions. I know that we are falling short on time.
Okay, thank you, Diyaji. There are a number of questions which have been lined up. I will first request Mr. Akash Singhal ji to ask his question. Akash Singhal ji.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, welcome, Diya. It's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you, Akash.
To you, being you are a goodwill ambassador of the UN Environment, can you please appraise us about the stand taken by UN Environment in compacting the problem of plastic pollution, specifically in the COVID-19 pandemic?
So I think that it's important to draw everybody's attention to the fact that in 2018, India was the host for World Environment Day, and the theme for World Environment Day in 2018 that Eric and I worked together on was Beat Plastic Pollution. The campaign was so powerful and it made such a huge impact. It led to significant behavioral change. Individuals started recognizing what single-use plastics are. There were large and important commitments made by civil society on the discontinuation of single-use plastics. I remember highlighting the fact that 21 states in India had banned plastic bags, but the implementation of the ban had not been successful. So we were seeking ways of implementing such a ban and ensuring that these 21 states that have already banned single-use plastics in India would be able to implement the ban. Of course, the campaign was so successful that it led to the landmark announcement made by our Prime Minister to completely phase out single-use plastics by 2022. Now, this was pre-pandemic. Now, as we all know, and we've been discussing this evening, that the pandemic, unfortunately, has created a myth. And this myth has to be busted, which is that plastic is safe or plastic is more hygienic. It has been proven that the virus can stay on the surface of plastic for up to 75 hours. Now, while there is an approach that institutions have taken because they have had to provide food, provide safety measures overnight, almost overnight. But I think the 7 months that we've had that has led to also a significant generation of single-use plastics in the form of masks, PPE kits, foot covers, face gears and face shields, etc. I think it's equally important for us to generate a really strong value chain and a system that can help more people recognize and understand that, like I was talking to doctors where they said that a lot of people are using PPE kits and plastic gloves. Now, plastic gloves are not essential for people who are not working in the front line. In fact, when people are wearing plastic gloves, it is actually making them more negligent. So it is better to wash your hands repeatedly or to sanitize your hands as opposed to wearing plastic gloves. Another very important replacement for the single-use mask that we have been campaigning and advocating on is the cloth mask, which is reusable, washable, and is a safe and a healthy measure to kind of adopt as civil society. So where UNEP is concerned, I think we've done a lot of work and will continue to do this work in engaging with civil society through our campaigns and through the advocacy work on, of course, the hazardous impact of the quantum of single-use plastic waste that is being generated, the scientific systems and solutions that are available to manage this biomedical waste, and alongside that, help civil society understand and educate themselves on how we can discontinue the use of single-use plastic, which is in the form of plastic gloves and plastic masks and PPE kits, and replace that with healthy measures that each and every one of us can implement and adopt in our daily lives.
Yeah,
I
thank
hope I answered your question.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diyaji, for a very elaborate and very comprehensive answer to this question. It was very enlightening, and to learn that how we can replace the single-use plastic even during the COVID pandemic. So now I will request, next question is from Mrs. Thangi Menon. Ms. Thangi Menon, can you put your question?
Hello. Hi, Dia.
Hi.
Nice seeing you, and greetings all the way from Nagaland.
Thank you.
And I am proud to say that we were one of the 21 states that had banned the plastics in November 2018.
And with successful implementation.
I don't know about that, because we have been pursuing with the government to implement it, and it was taking off to a great extent for some time. And from last year, after the Prime Minister's announcement, it was further boosted. But suddenly this year with the COVID, everything has again gone down the drain. So it is very essential that we really need to take it up more seriously and more vigorously. And at least all the states which had banned the plastics then should also reiterate and also do something about it. So maybe in your capacity as the UN ambassador and what you have been doing, maybe you can also put in a word and try to encourage these states to really take it on again, because it has really become much, much worse than what it was before. And another question which I would like to ask you is that, what are your thoughts about the corporate responsibility without any interventions from the government in affecting a change, especially in view of the usage of plastics in the packaging with the unprecedented surge in e-commerce that is taking place. Even in a remote place like Nagaland, we are really, really into e-commerce and getting everything online. So, but that has really created a lot of, unwanted waste. I don't know, what is your thoughts in that?
I'm so glad you've asked this question, because it's something that we've been, fighting for and hoping to achieve for a very long time. I think there are three aspects to this answer. One is that when we speak about corporate social responsibility, has to include extended producers' responsibility.
Yes,
Eric touched upon this, but it has to become a law. It cannot be a rule that people can flout, and we know how easily people flout rules. This waste management actually in all, Yutika ji, I know you're listening and nodding and you're agreeing with a lot that I'm saying, but I think you will agree with me when I say this, that what India needs is a law to manage waste, and a law that incentivizes the corporate sector, especially FMCG companies and e-commerce sector and all other stakeholders, to become responsible for the waste that they're introducing into the market. And it can become implementable and attractive by giving them tax incentives. I always believe that the value chain will only become robust and strong and implementable when there is money associated with it. So when companies discover that they can actually earn tax benefits by implementing extended producers responsibility and make it a part of their social corporate responsibility to protect the environment, we will see a significant change. Now, this will only be possible when we have a law to manage waste, and especially plastic waste. So I know that there are some good people, and I'm sure CAPP will also like to invest time and effort in pushing and mobilizing the possibility of constructing and constitutionalizing this law. I think it's very, very important, because while we may have a one-off wherein Amazon India declares that they will stop using bubble wrap paper and plastic wrap for their packaging, uh, there are so many other stakeholders in the e-commerce sector, and of course the FMCG. We also spoke about multi-layer packaging that has come back with a vengeance, and there is of course that loophole in the rules that has allowed them to continue going the way they have. So the only way we can make the corporate sector responsible, truly responsible, is by putting a law together that then of course has to be implemented. And when we have incentive of tax benefit, I'm sure it will drive and seriously mobilize this effort.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Riyaji. Very comprehensive answer, and we take your point that we would, from the side of the CAP, we would push for a legislation on the ERP, extended producer responsibility, and we totally agree that it is possible only if there is a legislation. Otherwise, the corporate sector may not be forthcoming. So we will
See,
not
Anup,
only
I'm
push,
sorry
we
to
will also
interject,
try to
but
prepare.
we are struggling with something so simple. Yutika ji, you mentioned that Maharashtra is leading in segregation of waste and collection of waste. We are still struggling to implement this as a process in households. I live in a cooperative society. For the last 5 years, we've successfully segregated waste. But there are many other societies, co-ops in my neighborhood, my friends' buildings, who do not even segregate waste at source. So it's when it is just a rule, it's not going to be implemented. It has to become a law. There have to be fines. It has to become so, whether it is civil society or the corporate sector, every single sphere and aspect of society has to become responsible for the waste.
Totally
Anupji,
agree.
with your permission, may I add something here?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diyaji. I'm very, feeling good to have a talk directly with you. So just to have a stress on this point, it is very much true that the solution we cannot achieve only by having a document in the form of rules, in the form of guidelines, because we really want them to be implemented at ground level also. So
and at a war footing.
Yeah, yes.
Have to be at a war footing. Otherwise, we are not going to see change.
Yes, very, very much correct. So CPCB specifically with respect of this EPR thing, which has recently introduced in the stream of plastic waste management also, so which with the help of which we can ensure that producer with at one point of time they are manufacturing or delivering their plastic items into the market, but they will be responsible for the overall take care of that product, whether it is going to the defined recyclers or not, and it is not littering or pilfering anywhere in the society. Secondly, CPCB in association with MOEF, of course, because CPCB is a technical body of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And we are collectively working to get this implemented. And we already worked on 3 type of models, which one of the model talks about the fee-based model, which Diyaji was talking about. And the fee-based model only identified as one of the practicable solution for this to implement and to monitor as well. In this producers or brand owners have to deposit money with central agencies, and that amount of money can be utilized by the ULBs for the collection, for the segregation, and then but yes, I cannot share much detail on that because it has not been finalized yet. It will come very soon, very shortly, by the MOEF and CC. But yes, a group of expert is already working on that. Other than that, let me share you like for plastic waste management, also for other kind of waste, for medical waste, because we are in COVID. So I would like to share that our legal bodies, our National Green Tribunal and Supreme Court of India is also reviewing the whole scenario, and CPCB is also one of the respondent in many of the court matters. In those matters, they are asking every state government or agency or and CPCB also to have a monitor on the whole channel of waste generation, waste segregation, whether it is a medical waste, whether it is a plastic waste. It is being monitored now. And CPCB has prepared a separate team, high level task team, especially to have a review on this whole waste generation during this COVID-19, specifically for the biomedical waste and for the solid waste. So we are every month, the chairman of Central Pollution Control Board is the chairman of that team also, and we are discussing the issues, we are discussing the gaps, what all can be the solutions for those. So this kind of things are going on. But yes, until unless every individual will understand the problem and will understand the gravity of this issue, it will not, the solutions we cannot achieve the solution what we want. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Yutika ji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I request Mr. NC Nirmal Chandra Mishra, who is also a member of CAP, question. Mr. NC Mishra.
Hello. Hello. Thank you, Diya ji. Good evening. Thank you, Anup ji. See, I have a question from Diya ji. We are in the festival days these days, and wherever you go out, you see lots of plastic garbages and all the lying here and there. Now I want to know, festivities without plastic are the need of the hour. How can we convert it as a credo, starting with Diwali?
I think, oh God. Well, the fact of the matter is that every one of us who has understood that single-use plastic and wasteful consumption of plastic is an environmental hazard has to continue to propagate, promote, campaign, and advocate on the discontinuation of such materials, and to do it through personal action. So every time I shop, I use my own carry bag that I carry with me. I refuse to use plastic bags. I use all the platforms accessible and available to me to continuously advocate on how important it is to opt for natural decor, to not use plastic decoration items, because even that, there's a big surge of plastic flowers and plastic decoration, and it has nowhere to go, and it just is contributes to the problem of pollution. What you are actually addressing, sir, is our problem of littering that Yutika ji had already spoken about. Now, we've had very powerful campaigns like the Swachh Bharat movement, and there are many other campaigns, the Beat Plastic Pollution movement. But the fact of the matter is that it all boils down to implementation, action of a law, implementation of that law, and fines associated with when people break the law. I also think that maybe it will help us, because some countries have done it. there should be a cost attached to the purchase or the use of a plastic bag. So shop owners and all these people who are selling fruits and vegetables and mithai and whatever else that we use during festivals, they should apply a charge to plastic bags. And Yutika ji, I think the CPCB can play a part in this, where you can encourage state governments to get all shop owners to attach a cost to plastic bags and the use of plastic bags. I think that will also bring down the consumption of plastic bags significantly.
Sure,
It
I'll
has in many countries, and I think we can definitely do that in India as well. And it shouldn't be a low cost, it should be a significant, like it should be at least 5 or 10 rupees for a plastic bag, because then at least people will think twice before buying or using a plastic bag.
I guess at few places it is happening, but yes, not everywhere.
It has to
but
be.
yes, it has to be everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you, Mishra ji, for your question.
Thank you very much. I will now we can take the last question from Mr. Pushpadant ji. Pushpadant ji, you are there. So please
Yes,
put your question.
I'm there, Anup ji. Thank you for giving me a chance. Diya ji, it's such a delight to hear your views, which are very commonsensical, and I really hope that governments are able to implement them. Diya ji, Mr. Solem had mentioned that the three-pronged strategy we need to adopt, that is refuse, reuse, and recycle. While the laws will definitely help in the recycle portion of it, but unless public can start refusing plastics, it will not be very sustainable, these kind of efforts. So my question, Diya ji, is that Bollywood plays a big role in influencing the public consciousness and behavior. So do you think by using, say, some subliminal messaging encoded in the movies, we can address this challenge as well? And if yes, then how should we go about it?
Oh, absolutely. You're so right, because film and stories are powerful mediums of expression and can bring about social change and behavioral change that we hope to seek in society and bring about in society. Let me take my own example. I've been using something called #traveling_bottle now for about 4.5 years, and popularized what is called a traveling bottle. It's essentially my metal bottles that travel with me wherever I go, whether it's the gym or the airport or a party or a red carpet. It could be a shoot, it could be anything. My bottles travel with me. The water is refilled from a tap. And that is how I have completely discontinued the use of single-use plastic bottles. This trend caught on. So many more people within my industry have started using a traveling bottle, so much so that even production companies at the time of shoot are not using plastic bottles. This used to be rampantly used at the time of film production. Now it's been completely discontinued. I can't speak for what is happening during the pandemic, because I know circumstances have changed. And yes, there is that whole aspect of hygiene that everybody is concerned about. But reusable bottles were made mandatory across various film sets. More and more advertising work is happening free of single-use plastic. And when it comes to subliminal messaging in film, that is also happening. So you will see more and more characters using metal bottles, not using plastic cutlery or crockery in frames. Even the decorations that are being used on sets and things that are being used have been replaced with more sustainable alternatives. I can speak for the fact that every time I shoot, I ensure there is no single-use plastic used on any of the sets that I work on. So it will take for individual action and consistent individual action, which will then lead to a spread of that communication. And hopefully many more people will make better choices. And we will see a lot more of that in the messaging of characters and stories in the films and advertising that we see in the days to come. And if you're a little crazy like me, then you can keep saying no to advertising work also. That includes any kind of plastic packaging, or make the advertisers or the company that you're endorsing responsible for the packaging. So where there is a will, there's a way. We just have to keep pushing for change.
Thank you
Right,
very
thank you.
much. Thank you very much. Now a time has come to say big thank you to all of you. I am really humbled and by the presence and the encouraging and motivating words of Mr. Eric Solem, Diaji, and Miss Yutika ji. I would like to first of all extend the gratitude of the foundation for campaign against plastic pollution to Mr. Eric Solem, who has taken time off his very busy schedule and has been there right through this 1.5 hour long webinar. He is a widely traveled man. He dons many a hat. Still, he has been able to find time for us. Thank you very much, Mr. Solem. Thank you very much. And Diaji, the words I will be deprived of the words how to thank you, how to say thank you to you. While you had promised 20 minutes, but I am really touched that you have been sitting right from the beginning till the end. Big thank you to you. Thank you very much. And I can only hope that you and also Mr. Eric Solem, they will associate with our future programs also. Whenever you find time, of course, we will check with your convenience and availability, but we will be having more and more webinars in future. So we hope to have continued association with both of you. And I would like to thank Ms. Yutika Puri. Thank you very much. You have really given us the real material about the hard nuts of the plastic pollution. So thank you very much. And we will be associating you more in future in our own future programs. And I hope you will be oblige us in future also. I also like to thank all the members of the Foundation for Campaign Against Plastic Pollution who had been working behind the scene for making this event a success, for their contribution, for their participation, for their active participation in the webinar today. I also thank all the other participants who have taken time to attend to this. I will request all of you to become an ambassador of the message that we are carrying. The standard slogan of this foundation is stop single-use plastic, save Earth. When we are saying stop single-use plastic, we mean that we have to minimize the use of single-use plastic. We have to find the alternatives, and we have to make habitual of the alternatives which are already available to us. It has become our habit to continue to use single-use plastic. We have to change our attitude, and we have to switch over to those alternatives which are already available. Diaji has given a plethora of examples of such alternatives which are already available, but we don't tend to use them. But please go around and spread this message that please use those alternatives which are already available. And also carry the message that we have to, whatever the plastic waste with our minimum use of plastic is generated, we have to dispose it of safely, scientifically, and not litter it here and there. I'll be failing my duty if I don't thank Ms. Nidhi Srivastava, who has been my technical advisor, another member of this FCAP, and who happens to be my daughter, who has been my technical advisor and worked all along with me in making this event possible. Without her support, this event would not have been possible. I would once again thank you all very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good. Namaste. Goodbye. We'll declare the webinar closed now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Thank you, Anup ji. Thank you, Diya
Thank
ji.
you.
Thank you, Anup sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for your cooperation, for joining and remaining here.
Thank
all
you,
along.
Nidhi.
Nidhi has been a great help. I could not have done it without her.
It is only see that we have been able to do it so successfully.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I was hoping to hear her
Yutika
also
ji,
sometime.
thank you very much, Yutika ji. Once again, your inputs have been very, very useful, very educative, and very illuminating.
Thank you so much, sir. Big words from you, but thank you.
Thank you, Yutika ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yutika ji. Thank you.
Thank
It
you,
was a
Ranjan
flawless,
sir,
everyone.
it was a flawless
for
event.
your welcome address. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interest. Pushpadan ji, thank you very much. Ranjan Chatterjee sir, Amitabh, Thangi, and all those whom I may be forgetting. Thank you all very much, very, very much.